Imagine it is 3 o'clock in the morning in Las Vegas.
Okay.
The sun went down like 8 hours ago. But if you step outside into the pitch dark, it's 90 degrees out.
Just sweltering.
Yeah, your body immediately starts sweating, literally in the middle of the night, just standing on your driveway. And today we are taking a deep dive into a single, highly detailed snapshot of United States weather. Tuesday, August 4, 2026. We want to understand this terrifying new reality.
Right, because a daily weather report sounds routine, but this one really isn't.
No, not at all. We're pulling data from a massive, comprehensive report in the Daily Tech Reader. And, well, okay, let's unpack this. Because looking at this specific Tuesday isn't just about reading a forecast. It reveals this massive, interconnected puzzle of compounding extremes.
Exactly. Weather is no longer about isolated events.
Yeah.
We're looking at rapidly shrinking recovery windows in between them.
Right.
We're going to trace the interconnected systems driving this entire continental weather map. Looking at the what, obviously, but really digging into the why.
Yeah, the mechanics of it. And I want to start where the atmosphere is doing something incredibly deceptive right now, which is the East Coast and the Midwest.
Ah, yes. The illusion of relief.
Seriously,
Yeah.
If you look at the report for New York City on this specific Tuesday, they are getting what looks like, a perfect day. Cool, dry, clear skies.
Upper 70s.
Beautiful, right. And cities down the mid-Atlantic like Baltimore, Washington, Philadelphia, they're catching this exact same breather behind a cold front. But context is everything here.
Right, because Monday was a completely different story.
A disastrous flash flood on Monday. Central Park took on 2.64 inches of rain in just a matter of hours, the heaviest single-day total in over 2 years.
Which is just a massive volume of water for that geography.
Yeah, it broke the metro. It caused widespread MTA subway suspensions.
What's fascinating here is that 2.5 inches might not sound catastrophic if you're, say, standing in a forest.
Right.
But in an urban environment, it is a physical breaking point. New York City, like most older metropolises, is basically a concrete grid built over this really antiquated drainage system.
Because concrete and asphalt are completely impervious.
Exactly. They do not absorb a drop of that water.
It just becomes a sprawling slip and slide.
It becomes a funnel. When rain falls that fast, the cities catch basins and gravity-fed sewer pipes. They just hit their volumetric capacity almost immediately.
And the water has nowhere else to go.
Right, it backs up. And because water always seeks the lowest elevation, it cascades straight down the subway stairs.
And through those ventilation grates on the sidewalks.
Exactly. The subterranean pump rooms that keep the MTA dry, they are designed to handle steady seepage and normal rainfall.
Not millions of gallons of rapid surface runoff.
No, not all pouring in at once, so the system shorts out, the tracks flood, and the grid paralyzes.
Which is wild. And even on this beautiful Tuesday, with the skies completely clear, the National Weather Service is warning residents of life-threatening 4 to 5 foot rip currents.
Yeah, at 7-second intervals.
Right, at 7-second intervals across the area's ocean beaches. And I was reading that and trying to visualize it because I think people assume clear skies means safe water.
That's a huge misconception. Atmospheric clearing does not immediately translate to environmental safety.
Because the ocean is still reacting to yesterday.
Exactly. The energy from Monday's storm is still churning through the ocean in the form of swell. And that 7-second interval is the critical metric here.
Wave period.
Yes. Wave period dictates the kinetic energy of the surf.
It's like holding your breath underwater and popping up for a single gasp of air before getting pulled right back under. Or, like running on a treadmill cranked to maximum speed.
That's a great way to put it.
If you trip and fall, the belt doesn't pause to let you stand back up. You just get thrown.
Right. A 7-second wave period means the ocean is hitting you with a 4-foot wall of water, and if you get knocked under,
you only have 7 seconds to find the surface.
Clear your eyes, take a breath, and then the next wall hits you. It causes rapid physical exhaustion, leading directly to drownings on sunny days.
Wow. Plus, the NWS is warning that the active pattern that has been soaking the Northeast since late July, well, it returns by Wednesday afternoon.
Barely 24 hours later.
Yeah, the upper Great Lakes, the middle Mississippi Valley, the Central Plains, they are in the crosshairs of the very next frontal system. So calling Tuesday a good weather day just feels almost dangerously misleading.
It is. Because a 24-hour window of clear skies isn't a return to normalcy. It isn't a day for a picnic in the park anymore.
It's an active disaster preparation day.
Right. It is a strict operational timeline. Baltimore and Annapolis, they're using this Tuesday exclusively to pump out basements, assess structural damage, and clear debris.
Because if those drains are clogged with branches and trash when Wednesday's storm hits,
The flooding will be exponentially worse.
so if you live in these zones, you have to treat a beautiful, sunny Tuesday as an active preparation day, not just a chance to relax.
You are quite literally on the clock.
Right. And speaking of that cold front that brought this brief, deceptive relief to the north, well, it didn't just vanish into thin air.
No, the mechanics of the atmosphere don't allow energy or moisture to simply disappear.
It has to go somewhere.
Exactly. That front pushed south and lost its momentum. It essentially crashed into warmer, denser air over the Gulf of Mexico and stalled out.
Just hitting a brick wall,
It acts as a massive atmospheric roadblock.
which traps all that moisture directly over the Gulf Coast. So South Florida is sitting under a level 1 of 4 flood risk heading into Tuesday, with 50 to 60% storm chances.
Which is significant.
Yeah, but I was looking at Miami's numbers in the report, and I was actually a bit confused because the highs are in the mid-80s to low 90s. The source notes that is technically close to their historical August average.
Right.
Wait, so if the source says Miami's temperatures are technically running close to their historical August averages, why is this pattern being flagged as so vulnerable and dangerous?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the ambient temperature on the thermometer is only half the equation here.
Okay.
That stalled frontal boundary we mentioned, it acts like a giant sponge. It is constantly pulling moisture off the incredibly warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico.
And just dragging it over land.
Exactly. The air becomes supersaturated. The threat here is the compounding nature of the heat index layered over high-volume water accumulation.
Right, because New Orleans and Baton Rouge lost their brief Monday respite entirely.
Yes, they did.
They are back to high temperatures in the low to mid-90s, but the heat index is approaching 105 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is brutal.
I know we throw heat index around a lot on the news, but mechanically, what is actually happening to the body at 105?
Well, the human body cools itself almost entirely through the evaporation of sweat.
Right.
It is a thermodynamic process. Liquid sweat turns into vapor, pulling heat away from your skin.
But the air is so wet.
Yes, when the relative humidity is maxed out because of that stalled Gulf moisture, the air cannot hold any more water vapor.
The air is basically full.
Full and heavy. So your sweat just sits on your skin. It literally does not evaporate.
So your internal cooling engine is effectively neutralized.
Precisely. An average ambient temperature of 92 degrees rapidly elevates your core body temperature to dangerous levels.
Yeah.
Just because the heat cannot escape your body.
Man, and while people are trying to survive that wet, suffocating heat, the sky is just unloading on them.
Constantly.
The NWS is forecasting 3 to 5+ inches of rain across the Gulf Coast from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle through the weekend.
When you dump 3 to 5 inches of rain daily on soil that is already saturated from July's storms,
The ground acts like a wet sponge.
you can't take in another drop. So the runoff overwhelms levees, it floods neighborhood streets, and it creates standing water that breeds entirely new public health issues.
While the population is suffering under a 105-degree heat index.
Yes, local infrastructure simply fatigues under that kind of relentless volume.
Which is wild. And that stalled front over the south is actually being caused by something even more extreme happening out west, right?
Yes, it is all connected.
We trade the wet, suffocating heat for this dry, relentless atmospheric lid baking the western half of the country. The heat dome.
Right. A heat dome is a sprawling ridge of high pressure in the upper atmosphere. Think of it like a giant, invisible anvil pressing down on the western half of the country.
It's crushing down.
Exactly. High pressure forces air to descend, and as air is pushed toward the ground, it compresses.
And basic physics tells us that when a gas compresses, it warms.
Right. This sinking, warming air aggressively prevents clouds from forming.
So there is absolutely no shade. Maximum solar radiation is just baking the earth day after day.
It's relentless.
And the numbers out west in this report are staggering. Dallas-Fort Worth is locked at 102 degrees with a heat index of 108.
With virtually zero rain in sight.
None. Las Vegas is forecast at a blistering 114 degrees for Tuesday. That is just 1 single degree shy of its all-time August 4 record.
And it marks 10 or more consecutive days at or above 110 degrees.
Death Valley is near 120. But here is where it gets really interesting for me. The daytime highs are brutal, obviously, but they aren't actually what cause mass casualty events during a prolonged heat dome.
No, the true danger hides in the overnight lows.
This was the moment in the data where everything clicked for me. The overnight lows are offering absolutely zero relief.
Not at all.
Dallas is staying in the upper 70s and low 80s at night. Vegas is hovering around 87 to 90 degrees overnight.
And Death Valley is stuck at 95 to 96 degrees when the sun goes down. We biologically assume that nighttime brings a reset, that the dark means cooling.
Right.
But modern urban landscapes, all that concrete, asphalt, steel, they have massive thermal mass. They absorb that intense solar radiation for 14 hours a day.
And then what? They just release it.
Yes. When the sun finally sets, that built environment radiates all that stored heat back out into the air.
So the cities act like giant thermal batteries that never fully discharge.
Exactly.
And here's a highly specific detail I found in the report from the Dallas Express. Texas UIL school athletics programs.
Oh, yes.
They are now required to use wet bulb globe temperature measurements instead of the traditional heat index to determine if kids can even practice outside.
This raises an important question about how we measure risk, because the standard heat index is fundamentally flawed for active outdoor survival.
Because it is calculated in the shade, right?
Yes, exactly.
I was reading that and thinking, well, who plays high school football in the shade?
Nobody. Which is why wet bulb globe temperature is a far more rigorous metric. It measures the physical stress on a human body in direct sunlight.
So it accounts for a lot more variables.
It calculates ambient temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, sun angle, and cloud cover. It gives you the exact threshold of human survivability under real-world conditions.
Wow.
And the Daily Tech Reader uses a chilling phrase regarding these overnight temperatures in places like Vegas. They call it having no physiological recovery window.
Because if it's 90 degrees at 3 a.m., your body is still actively fighting to stay cool while you are unconscious.
Your heart rate stays elevated just to pump blood to your skin to try and dump heat.
You don't even get to rest while you sleep.
No, the strain on your cardiovascular system accumulates silently day after day. You wake up already exhausted.
And the city's power grid is suffering the exact same lack of recovery, right?
Exactly the same. Air conditioners are drawing maximum load 24 hours a day, which pushes transformers to their thermal limits.
Increasing the risk of catastrophic rolling blackouts.
Precisely when electricity is the very thing keeping people alive.
Man. Which brings us to the final piece of this nationwide puzzle. Extreme heat doesn't just bake cities and stress power grids. It turns the surrounding wilderness into a total tinderbox.
It creates secondary disasters that cross state lines.
Yeah, we are looking at a cascading crisis of fire and smoke across the Pacific Northwest and California.
When a heat dome sits over a landscape for weeks, it creates something called a high vapor pressure deficit.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
The atmosphere is so hot and dry that it essentially acts like a vacuum. It violently sucks the moisture out of every tree, bush, and blade of grass.
So the vegetation just becomes highly volatile fuel.
Exactly, it's ready to ignite.
The report states Wyoming is facing red flag fire warnings with single-digit relative humidity. Single digits.
It's incredibly dry.
But Oregon is the undisputed epicenter right now. Their 2026 wildfire season has already shattered state records. As of this Tuesday, they are holding at 1.978 million acres burned.
Almost 2 million acres.
Yeah. And to put that in perspective, just one blaze, the shingle fire, is at 67,416 acres and is only 16% contained despite burning since July 23.
It's just devastating.
And the Roe Creek complex has burned over 313,000 acres.
When we talk about a complex fire, we are talking about multiple distinct wildfires that have grown so large they actually merge into a single massive conflagration.
Wow.
And seeing containment at just 16% after weeks of fighting, that speaks to the utter exhaustion of resources.
Because firefighters are battling high temperatures, bone-dry fuels, and erratic winds.
Winds created by the fires themselves, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes. The heat of a blaze that large creates its own localized weather systems, which pushes the flames faster than bulldozers can cut containment lines.
And the consequences don't stop at the fire line. The smoke from Oregon is pouring southward into Northern California, creating unhealthy to very unhealthy air quality levels.
It's unavoidable.
Californians in interior valleys, from Redding down to Fresno, They are trapped between 103 to 107-degree heat and hazardous smoke.
It's a horrific combination.
It's like, imagine being trapped inside a sauna, but someone just lit a campfire in the corner. You can't open a window to cool down because the air outside is toxic.
You certainly can't step outside to catch a breeze.
Exactly.
That is the compounding hazard in action. The heat creates the fire. The fire generates these enormous plumes of smoke.
And then that smoke gets carried by the wind and sinks into the valleys.
Right, forcing people to seal their homes and stay indoors right when the interior heat is most dangerous.
Especially for those without reliable air conditioning.
Yes.
The report even notes that the smoke from Oregon is reaching all the way into Texas and the high plains.
It travels thousands of miles.
So you don't have to live anywhere near a forest to be a victim of a wildfire.
Not at all.
If you find yourself in these compounding hazard zones, you have to take both threats seriously. Just drinking water isn't enough if you're breathing in microscopic particulate matter during peak afternoon heating.
The fine particulate matter in wildfire smoke, which is known as PM 2.5, is uniquely dangerous.
Why is that?
These particles are so microscopically small that they bypass the body's natural respiratory defenses.
Like the mucus in your nose and throat.
Exactly. They just slip right past, travel deep into the lungs, cross the alveolar barrier, and enter the bloodstream directly.
Oh, wow.
And this triggers systemic inflammation. When you combine a cardiovascular system struggling to oxygenate blood due to PM 2.5,
with a heart that is already racing to regulate a 105-degree body temperature.
you are looking at a severe compounding medical emergency.
So what does this all mean? We started on the East Coast, looking at New York City's flooded subways and this deceptive 24-hour window of clear skies.
Right.
We tracked that same weather front stalling out over the Gulf, turning Florida and Louisiana into an unyielding, humid moisture machine.
With heat indices up to 105.
Yeah. And then we traced the cause of that stall to the searing, dry heat dome baking Texas and Las Vegas, where the concrete turns into a thermal battery and the nights offer absolutely no relief.
Because of that lack of a physiological recovery window.
Exactly. And finally, we saw how that same heat turns Oregon into a 1.978 million acre tinderbox, blowing toxic smoke back across the country.
It's all incredibly linked.
The realization hitting me is that, well, weather is no longer about isolated, localized events. We are looking at a vast interconnected system where the physical windows of time we have to recover are simply vanishing.
The map is a single organism. The front that clears New York, it floods Florida. The high pressure that bakes Texas, it burns Oregon.
Right.
And this brings us back to that most critical phrase we discussed today. No physiological recovery window.
It changes how you view a simple weather app entirely.
It really does. If our summer nights permanently lose their ability to cool down, and our bodies, our power grids, and our concrete infrastructure are denied that crucial thermal reset,
Something has to give.
human society will have to adapt its fundamental rhythms.
Think about that for a second. What happens when your air conditioner fails at midnight and it's 95 degrees inside your bedroom and it's going to be 110 degrees the next day?
You're in immediate danger.
If we can't survive the days, how does our society function? Will our architecture have to drastically evolve to passively reject heat?
It's a huge engineering challenge.
Or even more disruptively, will daily life have to shift entirely? Like, will construction work, road paving, and even school schedules have to become strictly nocturnal during the summer months just to ensure human survival?
If the daytime hours belong entirely to the heat dome, humanity might have no choice but to claim the night, just to find a window to survive.
A completely nocturnal summer. Man, that is an intense, deeply unsettling thought to leave you with.
But a very real possibility.
Definitely. But considering the interconnected atmospheric data we just unpacked today, it might not be science fiction for much longer.
No, we won't.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thank you for joining us as we piece together this massive continental puzzle. And as always, keep questioning the world around you.